Is definition of ready really a curse or a blessing?
In my view, definition of ready is, where do you think definition of ready is helpful for Scrum teams?
Okay, so with enough disclaimer, maybe in one situation,
Where do you think the definition of ready is pulling the team down?
I have seen several companies use definition of ready.
You can do Scrum without even doing product backlog refinement. What does that mean? That means
Hi, welcome to Scrum Studio. In this podcast, we are going to discuss one of the important things: is definition of ready a curse or a blessing for the Scrum teams? I'm going to brainstorm this with Arun. Hi.
Hi, Venkat.
So before we brainstorm, is definition of ready really a curse or a blessing? I wanted to pick your brain. What is definition of ready?
Okay. So in my view, definition of ready is a concept that the Scrum teams use to ensure that there are enough details that are available in the product backlog before they pick it up in a sprint planning.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So sort of a checklist that they ensure that these are all taken care, like head description is there, we have understood, and then we have estimated this, what are the technological stuff that we need to do. Sort of these sort of stuff they put in as a checklist and they tick off before they pick it up in a sprint planning. This is definition of ready. Okay, now that I've explained what definition of ready is from my point of view, I would like to pick your brain on, where do you think definition of ready is helpful for Scrum teams?
Okay, so with enough disclaimer, maybe in one situation, the definition of ready might be a good starting point where the company is pretty new to agile ways of working. And imagine you have everybody in the company who's not trained on what is Scrum or other frameworks which is going to be useful for the teams to be adaptive. So the product owners or someone who was chosen by the management might not be knowing how do we even define product backlog items with a clarity that the teams require. So in those cases, a definition of ready might be a good starting point for them to start their journey of 1,000 miles, right? And the reason I said it's a disclaimer is because that's going to be a starting point. So you need to just move on when you continuously move on in your agile journey. That's my take. But I also wanted to pick your experience. In which situation that do you think the definition of ready is going to be useful?
Now, as you said, I'm on the same page with you. So whenever the team is very new to the Scrum ways of working, or even they are not that experienced in that particular setup, at least having some enough details in the product backlog will help the team to pick up the items and then understand what it is before they work on it. That could be a one benefit of having a definition of ready, right? So now coming to the opposite side that you talked about, where do you think the definition of ready is pulling the team down?
Okay, so there are many ways that the definition of ready might drag the teams down. One thing that I can quickly think of is it might become a stage gate, right? So when we talk about agile ways of working, we embrace adaptive planning. Sometimes what you forecasted for your sprints, on the day of your sprint planning, things might totally change, right? So there are two things. One is I need to be adaptive. I have a market opportunity sitting in front of me. But when you try to take that market opportunity to the team, either the team is going to say that no, this is not meeting the definition of ready criteria we put on, or sometimes the product owner might be stepping back and saying, no, I need more details to even come back to you and communicate what is needed. So one, it kind of create a stage gate, right? when this is not handled properly.
Mm-hmm.
And the second situation that I can quickly think of before I come back to you is, I have seen several companies use definition of ready as a starting point, but they were just stuck with that. And the definition of ready would look like a waterfall, right? Waterfall is perfectly fine if you want to do that, but let's not do that in the name of agile ways of working. So it might become a stage gate where a part of definition of ready might be required by the Scrum team, and the part of definition of ready might be required by the dependent teams. So they might live with those dependencies and silos rather than trying to improve their ways of working and collaboration. Right?
Okay.
So this could also potentially lead to product owner and developers. You create a big wall between them in the name of definition of ready, and don't cross this wall, right? If you want to cross this wall, you got to ask permission, because as per the checklist, we agreed. So we don't want to see that happens in companies. I'm sure you agree with me. We need more collaboration, not a big wall in front of teams, especially they are working on a common goal.
Now, I agree with you. So interestingly, I've seen a case in one of the organizations, right, where the developers came revolting, saying that to the product owner, hey, we don't have enough details in the product backlog. We'll not be pulling up. You should be adhering to the definition of ready, else we'll not pick it up. Now, what I observed is that the product owner is in a state saying that, hey, I don't have enough information, so I need to get along, or I need to do a lot of groundwork before even I give the information. Now, in this case, what would you have done to help this team move forward?
Okay, so this is the exact scenario that I was talking, right? You cannot replace collaboration with some artifacts. So there is an artifact. This artifact will take care of collaboration. So we don't come back or come together and collaborate. So the trap probably, or I would put it as a curse that it might open up for the teams, is it might limit collaboration and it might bring these kind of dysfunctions that you spoke. So if I were there, obviously my first question is, why DoR in this environment? What is it we are trying to achieve with the DoR, which we cannot achieve without the DoR? Right? So we got to see the pros and cons. And my consulting or the coaching approach is going to be totally contextual depending on the company. So, but my first approach is, I would rather not introduce something and then go and explain people the dysfunction of that or the side effects of that. I would rather not introduce that at all. That's my approach. But I wanted to just pick your brain, because you told me there are some gifts or benefits in using the DoR. I think you spoke about one case. But I also
in the same case, what I've done in that case is that, hey, good. Now the product owner says that even product owner doesn't have this enough information for this. But in any case, we have to move on. We have to work on something, right? Or to work on not something, work on the valuable thing. Now, how about product owner being with you most of the times throughout the sprint, and then trying to be giving information as and when he or she got that information, so that you are moving forward with the most valuable stuff rather than putting a stage gate. So basically, the inclination is towards product owner and developers working more collaboratively when there is not much enough information.
And
right?
Okay. So is this a reason, do you think, in the Scrum guide, they have not mentioned anything about definition of ready?
Absolutely. That's one of the reasons in most of the classes that I run, that we say definition of ready is a bad practice that can kill your collaboration. Right? Because once you start creating definition of ready, it is we're going to, in the name of continuous improvement, we're going to start adding stringent criteria on top of definition of ready, which is going to kill the other side, which is collaborating with the product owner as developers.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, my experience is similar. I can also give you an example what happened in one of the companies. They introduced definition of ready, and I was not a part of that stage of transformation. And then what they started doing is they started measuring definition of ready with some metrics. What is the coverage of definition of ready? Are we getting definition of ready criteria met properly? 80%, 90%, 100% coverage. So instead of doing actual things that delivers value to the customers, we are actually doing so many things, other things, which is going to drag everybody's effort towards this DoR, which could potentially kill team's time as well as product owner's time in doing the wrong thing that can easily be done through collaboration.
Absolutely. So this is what we call this in the name of process. We start introducing so many unnecessary stuffs while doing Scrum. That is why we say Scrum is very, very simple. It has very limited information. If you just follow what is there in that 12-page document, you would be better off doing proper Scrum. But we introduce a lot of practices like this and make this Scrum not work in an environment.
Okay, so let's move on. What is the solution? We spoke about some dysfunctions, but
I'll also put the other way around as well, Venkat. Now, since there is no mandate like this, there is nothing like a definition of ready. I've seen certain product owners take this for granted, adding information into the product backlog granted, and then just say, I've just given a one-liner, go and do it. And then the team is struggling to understand what needs to be done in a product backlog. So this is the other end of the spectrum.
Yes.
Right? So you should not be like no information or very minimal information. At least there should be a middle ground, which means there is an agreement between the product owner and the developers. Hey, in this case, I have information, I've given the information. Right? And you can start working on it. In this case, I don't have enough information, but we need to work on this because this is the most valuable stuff. I'll be there with you throughout the sprint, this particular time, so that as and when I'm getting information, I'm going to give you this information incrementally. Makes sense?
So I think I get it. What you're trying to say is it's like eating habit. Every day we got to eat. Next 1 month, we don't get food. For that sake, we cannot eat the next 1 month food in one day. Right? So either you're going to be one polarity, the extreme polarity, you put a big checklist. Only if that passes, we would even touch the product backlog. That is also bad. And no, we don't have anything. We just give one-liner to the teams. The teams are going to do no matter what I give. So it's a two-way road, right? The product owner should come together to collaborate with the teams, and the team should also come together to collaborate with the product owner. It's a two-way road because we are all trying to deliver value to the customers end of the day. So we need to put the customers at the center.
Absolutely.
And do what is valuable for the customer while we collaborate better inside the teams so that we don't get into these traps.
Exactly.
Right? So my last question, right, before we close this podcast is, why do you think still many companies embracing or endorsing definition of ready even today?
In my view, it is like a hangover. We are still in the hangover of traditional way of working, right? So we have been used to writing big documents and then handing over to the coding team before they start working on it. So that's the thing that I feel, that when something was there in the industry as definition of ready, people quickly latch on to that because they know, hey, I know this. We have worked on this, right? But they're not understanding the actual trap that they're getting into, right? And interestingly, in the Scrum Guide, we have this product backlog refinement as an optional activity, a recommended activity, not a mandatory one. If you could relate this with this, right? So definition of ready is not at all a concept that they're endorsing. But that's one of the reasons that they have kept this product backlog refinement as an recommended activity, right? Which means you can do Scrum without even doing product backlog refinement. What does that mean? That means there is no concept called definition of ready. You have whatever information you have, Is it valuable to the customers? Yes, let's go and do it. Inside a sprint, let's try to find information. Let's try to code it. Let's try to test it. Let's try to deploy it. Let's try to validate if this is really valuable or not. So that's the core idea of Scrum. Okay, from your point of view, why do you think certain organizations still endorse definition of ready?
Okay, this is mainly because old habits die hard, right? We used to do a lot of things and we just follow the new ideas. To put it simply, old wine in a new bottle. So we try to carry all the old ideas and try to fit in contemporary ways of working. So the other side of the problem is, in the name of pragmatism, we are actually killing all the theories. And have you heard that people say, I hate theories, I don't like to hear theories? See, everybody should embrace new theories. Had we not embraced new theories, we would have not gotten to the stage where we are now with respect to the medical advancement. We all embraced that. That's why, you're all advancing into the medical industry. You're all doing all the stuff. We advanced in the theory of technology, and that's why we are here, talking online, doing everything online, possibly working from home and all that stuff. Had we not embraced the theoretical concepts around this, we would have not even got into the world of online. So I think we should balance pragmatism and theory. So the theoretical parts are going to be really truly valuable. So when it comes to definition of ready, theoretically, it is not going to be a great addition to the framework. And that is why, as you rightly said, it is not a part of Scrum framework, because the benefits of DoR is way lower than the side effects that is going to create as a part of or as a result of DoR. Right? With this summary, I think I can say definition of ready is definitely a curse for many Scrum teams. It might look like a blessing, but soon it's going to turn into a curse. So what do you think?
I'm absolutely with you. Yes. So start moving away from definition of ready. So the concept, we have another concept called definition of done, right? So over a period of time, start making more stringent criteria to the definition of done. Whereas here, start reducing the stringencies in the definition of ready.
That's a good point.
So that's your continuous improvement.
So evolve your DOD and kill your DOR slowly.
Yes.
Great addition, Arun. Okay. So I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast on the definition of ready. We look forward to seeing you in another podcast shortly. Thank you.
Thank you.